And joining us now here in studio, Mr. Dan Perry, international affairs analyst and former Europe and Middle East editor at the Associated Press. Mr. Perry, it seems that suspense here is the best weapon.
That certainly is what they want, to have Israel be on some kind of hysterical state of preparation to absorb an attack. The Iranians typically, as was said in your report, don't respond immediately. They make threats, but they're careful not to set a timeline. And in general, say what you will of the Iranians, the regime is a menace to the planet, but they are pretty consistent in a sort of steadfast strategic point of view where they won't be drawn into retaliation at a timing that is inconvenient
for
to
them.
They're proud of their cultural time span that is much longer than the short attention span and short fuse of the West.
It is a very different perception of the mere notion of time between the West and all others.
But of course,
Chinese,
even though they don't want to do the expected thing and attack at the expected time, maybe precisely because you might think that, then the expected time would be the unexpected time.
Right.
So it's not like Israel can let down its guard. You can debate whether it was so intelligent to take out this guy in Damascus, if indeed it was Israel that did it. But because he was there up to no good, but he can easily be replaced, and he's a senior official of an actual recognized state actor, much though it's a rogue actor, as opposed to a terrorist group. So that was a risky maneuver. And I can only hope that somehow it doesn't cost too badly.
Speaking of risky maneuvers, the strained relations between Jerusalem and Washington at this point in time, we're seeing this letter that was sent to President Biden, Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi, a friend of Israel.
Yeah.
This comes after Chuck Schumer, who, other than Zelensky and maybe Blinken, is the most senior Jewish person on the planet coming out against the government. This comes amid an unprecedented isolation of Israel, even though Israel's fundamental goal of removing Hamas from Gaza and returning the hostages, I do believe, is supported by almost all people of good faith in the world, including most Western governments. But you know, it's one thing to have a goal that seems reasonable, and it's another to expect the world to support your methods forevermore. And we have discussed this in a studio for, it's unbelievable, but 6 months now. And I said from the beginning, the line of credit is not without
And yet the world
limit.
is not offering an alternative method that is bearing fruit.
I have to find myself in rare disagreement with you. In fact, Joe Biden, the Biden administration, has been presenting a plan to the world since late November. And the reason why there's all this isolation is because the Biden framework that they labored very diligently to establish has been rejected by this government for what I do believe are political reasons.
A plan that would see Hamas releasing all the Israeli hostages?
No, not that. The point is this.
The point is that all the pressure is being applied on Israel.
And by the way, I think the world should apply more pressure on Hamas. And I was very glad to see Biden in recent days pushing Qatar and Egypt to do just that. But I do think that if Israel were to accept the Biden framework that's been around now for 4 or 5 months, where they declare a day after plan that involves some version of a PA government restored to Gaza, as Israel itself has been demanding for 17 years, and would accept perhaps an Arab international force to go into Gaza after Hamas has been finished off, and in a framework
what was relevant
in a framework of a large Sunni, moderate, Israeli, NATO, Western, U.S. alliance against Iran, agree to enter talks on a two-state solution at some point in a perhaps distant future, then Israel would have diplomatic latitude and a renewed line of credit. And moreover, Israel would then be in a position to make demands. I would bet the farm with you that if Israel would come out right now and say, you know what, we've had a rethink, and we don't care about Ben Gvir and Smotrich and the extreme right in Israel.
And yet
we accept
Hamas
this framework.
is seeing the rising global pressure on Israel. Why? What's
Because the
rush?
rising global pressure on Israel is because Israel refuses to engage in any discussion, Ellie.
All right.
That's why.
Well,
And by the way, I'm not saying Hamas would give up. I'm saying there would be a renewed line of
Hamas
credit.
is perhaps the only beneficiary, quote unquote, of the current standstill.
That's for sure.
All right. Dan Perry, thank you very much for this.